What's up, guys? So I've got my Shark deck profile. This is going to be the last profile I do for 2021. I know I haven't released a video in a while, but I have been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm playing so much Sharks, and I can tell you for sure I really love this deck. Now, there's a couple of things that I think are amazing about it. Firstly, I think it's so consistent. Yeah, you just don't really brick because you just play loads of starters, and it's really just get 2 monsters on board, which isn't too hard to do. And then on top of that, it's also got really unfair locks. So Zombie World have the whole Zombie Rivalry lock, but the weakness of that is that Zombie World itself doesn't do anything. It just turns things into monsters. This lock relies on KRAGEN. KRAGEN does a lot other than just doing that lock, which makes it really nice. And so I'll get into this profile and explain the thought behind the deck. But yeah, and you are going to see 1 or 2 weird ratios, but that's mainly because of my locals. One thing you always need to remember when you're doing profiles, obviously, is you need to tailor it a bit to what you're going to be playing against. So because of certain decks at my format, that's why I've made certain decisions. But yeah, we'll start off with the fish and the shark monsters. So we've got 3 Beautiful Princess, 3 Buzzsaw Shark. So Beautiful is really just another copy of Buzzsaw Shark. That's what she does. She summons him from the deck. She dodges Imperm and Veiler, but doesn't dodge Ash. He doesn't dodge anything, but he's a body on the field, and you usually want a body on the field. So that's the weakness of her. When you normal special summon her, what's going to happen a lot of the time is if your opponent has Ash, you lose. Well, you don't lose, but you can't extend unless you have an amazing hand full of extenders, because you need to be able to put a body on the field. Whereas with Shark, if you have him on the field already and your opponent Imperms or Veilers it, you're feeding free because you can just usually summon and extend and play anyway. In fact, half the time I don't even use his effect on summon. I'll save his effect to bring him back with White Mirror because I don't even want to give my opponent the chance to negate me. But yeah, so we play 3 of both, really good cards. Summons from deck. This summons from deck as well, really good cards. Then we have our water extenders. So the best one is this one, Tangy Spirit Stana. Now for now, and to be honest, even probably after May when we get the next wave of support for Sharks, this is probably the best extender in the deck just because it lets you put a good body on an empty board. It's got 2000 defense. It also has some interactions with Rarefish, but they never come up. I've played so many games of this deck. I go to 2 or 3 locals a week and I play a ton on Dueling Book and that interaction doesn't come up. But it's still an amazing card. This card I always want to see in my opening hand. And then we play Silent Angler and Silent Sea Nettle. Now the problem with these cards is they both have slight restrictions which to make them not ideal. Silent Sea Nettle locks you into waters. Jesus, that is a tongue twister. But yeah, Sea Nettle locks you into waters, which is a disadvantage because obviously a lot of your extra deck is going to be non-water stuff that you want to kind of flex into, and that limits that. Silent Anger prevents you from summoning from the hand for the rest of the turn, which is also a disadvantage because then you can't use things like your Sea Nettle, or if this gets popped, you can't use your Stana. But they're still really good cards you want to play at 3. Another thing that makes Sea Nettle really nice, obviously, is it has a bit of a avarice effect. It doesn't draw, but it does shuffle the cards back, which is really nice. And then moving on to hand traps. So I was playing 12 hand traps, but at least so yesterday I was at a winner box. Unfortunately, I finished X2 over 5 rounds, really close to the X1. But unfortunately, I just had a really bad matchup. I had not bad matchup. I had a really bad play against a DP. I didn't pop a DP when I should have lost me a game. But I was playing 12 hand traps. I did go down to 10, and it's really just because Nibiru, at least for me, feels subpar at the moment. I find that the main 2 popular decks are Invoked and Sword Soul, and then after that I would say in my locals at least there's a lot of Sky Striker. Invoked doesn't really care about Nibiru. It's rare that it is a huge issue for them because they make Macabre so often, or they just don't do 5 summons. Sword Soul, they almost always can play around Nibiru, again making it not ideal. And then Sky Striker doesn't give 2 craps about it. I mean, you can occasionally Nibiru them in end phase, but it just doesn't come up enough to be relevant. And so it just always felt subpar and like a brick. And so this was like just before the tournament that I made this decision. So I took out 2 Nibiru, put 2 Nibiru in my side deck and just put more back row removal because also we have quite a lot of Mystic Mind players at my locals. And so I thought, okay, you know what, I'd rather have more back row removal. So I put in the Order and the Duster, which were originally in my side deck, just so I'd have main deck outs to it because seriously, there's Mystic Mind people at my locals and it's really frustrating. But yeah, Ash, Veiler, Imperm, all great in this format to be honest. Ash, you need it for DPE, Fusion Destiny to get rid of that. Veiler and Imperm are just good against everything, and they're really good against Sword, Soul, and Invoked. The Invoked matchup is free in this deck if you stop them getting to the Invoked engine. So usually in the Invoked matchup, my entire goal is just stop them getting to Macabre and Purgatrio, because Macabre and Purgatrio both hard counter this deck. But the Dogmatica stuff you don't care about. You don't care about decks that just pop your monsters. They pop your monster and then it's like, okay, you just recur next turn anyway. But yeah, but that's the hand traps. And then yeah, so just one Nibiru left in the main deck. Actually, I don't even think I left the Nibiru. I think actually these were draws. I think, no, yeah, I'm right. These weren't Nibirus. These were draws, and the draws were super good. So I would actually change. I think I had one draw main deck, 2 draw side, and they were amazing all day. But anyway, yeah, moving on from that into the spells, we have our power one on. So we have the 1 called by 1 Feather Duster, 1 instant fusion. I did used to play 1 for 1, but essentially, just a lot of times you don't want to throw a card in the grave to open yourself up to Ash. That's what makes 1 for 1 not as ideal as it could be. Even though it's another kind of, it's not a normal summon, it turns Beautiful Princess into a lot better of a starter. You're throwing away an extender that you probably just want to put on board anyway, or you're throwing away a hand trap, because I'm not playing anything that's not an extender on a hand trap, and so 1 for 1 is less useful. And then, like I said, Duster for Mystic Mind mainly. And Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is great, along with Ready Fusion, so you're basically playing 3 Instant Fusion. Is really good to summon out rare fish. One thing I actually did as well, which I haven't got here, is I was playing Mud Dragon of the Swamp. I'm going to put that in here because one of the things you need to realise that Mud Dragon of the Swamp has, and most people don't forget about this effect, but it can't actually be targeted. It changes the attribute. It changes the attribute of itself, and any monster with that attribute can't be targeted with card effects. What makes this amazing is it's already inherently water, but you can even change it to light if you wanted to protect the future. But yeah, you can have this on the field, so I would have it on the field, and then I'll normal summon my Buzzsaw, and now I know they can't, unless they have Ash, they can't negate my Buzzsaw Shark, which is really, really great. So yeah, my Dragon was really, like, having 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Rare Fish, I really found that was an amazing package to have in this deck. It also means occasionally, if I really wanted to, I could put Super Poly in the side deck if it becomes viable again, which is nice. But anyway, yeah, 3 Desires, yeah, just good all day. You play so many 3-ofs. You don't really care as well if you banish anything, because all of your engine is in the extra deck. It's a bit like Salad. Your game plan is in your extra deck almost completely, and everything in the main deck is just a way to get into your extra deck. So yeah, you can get away with 3 Desires. White Mirror is an amazing card. This card, oh my gosh, sometimes I'm frustrated when I draw 2 in my opening hand, but even then I know I'm in a good position because it just generates so many pluses. The effect is actually insane. It summons a fish from the grave and then adds that same one to the hand. So Buzzsaw Shark is usually your target, and this is why a lot of the times, so if I open, for example, Buzzsaw, Silent Angler, White Mirror, I'll normal summon Buzzsaw, special summon Angler, and then go straight into my Bahamut Toad plays before summoning it again with White Mirror. And what this is going to do is it's going to insulate my Buzzsaw for its activation, and then it's also going to mean that next turn I have follow-up. So yeah, White Mirror is just amazing. It's a win con in this deck. When you resolve White Mirror, you're in a White Mirror, you're in a really, really good position. And then 3 Gozen Match. Gozen Match is not amazing against every deck, but obviously in this deck you can make it amazing against everyone because you can lock them out playing the game, which is just amazing. Imperial Order, Mystic Mind also because it's busted, and then 3 Imperm, like I said before. So moving into the extra deck now. What's really, really cool about this deck is you get to use some old school cards that are still really, really good that I like. So Mud Dragon and Rare Fish, we talked about those. They're just kind of instant fusion targets and extenders. Dweller's really, really good in specific matchups. This is probably the biggest flex spot. So I have a few PK as well at my local, and that's the matchup that I would say Dweller just completely craps on. But it also allows you to out DP very effectively. So a lot of the times, if I can make 2 XYZs in a turn and I'm facing down a DP, I'll make Dweller first. I'll make Dweller and then I'll leave them on the board and I'll start to extend. As soon as they try and pop my Dweller or pop anything, I just activate Dweller. And now they know they have to do 1 or 2 things. They have to either then and there pop and just commit to losing their DP, or they can't use their DP on itself anymore. And now I know that I can just kind of extend them feel free because they didn't want to get rid of their DP, which is really, really nice. Dweller also has a great second effect, which we all forget about, but it actually boosts your water monster by 500 attack. Yeah, which is really awesome. So yeah, definitely a really good card. Bahamut Shark, which is just for getting into totally nothing to say about that. Zeus is amazing. One of the things I've been doing a lot in this deck as well is converting. So before, I would just leave Bahamut Sharks on the field. If I could only make 1 Bahamut totally, I would just leave on the field. But one of the boards I've been making a lot now is 1 Bahamut and 1 Zeus. So on the follow-up, obviously, this is on turn 2, turn 3, I would make totally attack with the Totally and then make Totally Zeus. And that is such an oppressive board because what's going to happen is your opponent basically has to find a way to out both of those cards, and in the top decking simplified game state situation, they're never going to be able to, which means your Zeus is insulated and your Totally is going to recover your resources for next turn. So it's just an amazing field to have both Bahamut and Toad. This card is great, this card is great. Another nice thing is this card allows you to play around There Can Be Only One nicely because obviously this is a sea serpent. So you can use an aqua and a fish, for example, to go into this, and then this is going to summon this, which is an aqua. So this allows you to play around There Can Be Only One really effectively, which makes you love it a lot. But this is the other card. card that makes me play around There Can Be Only One, and just play around everything. This card is amazing, performs great, and no one expects it. This is the little brother to Zeus that we all forgot about. He's such a sick card. And what's really nice as well is obviously a lot of the times I'm going to make this, use this effect, attack at my opponent, and then make a Zeus on top of it. So it's basically a free way of getting a 4 material Zeus. Yeah, just this card is amazing. It's only once per chain as well, so you can use it if your opponent like does something to stop you using, or if they put more cards on the field, you can use it again. I mean, everything about this card is just so amazing. Really love, exciting, perform well. Stealth Kraken, this card is great. Now, this is the main kind of boss monster of the deck, I guess, next to Totally. And so it's got a lot of effects, obviously we all know about it. So it converts everything on the field to water, can destroy a water monster your opponent controls, but only during the main phase as a quick effect. And it also burns there from that. The burn is really relevant. Like, that's won me so many games in time, because I burned my opponent and they didn't realize they were burned. And then also it floats into 2 Kragen spawns, which also have basically the same effect. So I mean, this card's just amazing. The second one doesn't always come up, but it comes up enough, and this card is good enough that I would always play 2. Maybe when the new support comes out and Hef comes out, I can get away with going down to 1, because I have other kind of cards I can go to and rely on. But for now, I definitely say it's worth playing it 2, because it's just such a strong card. Play the future package, because it's super easy to bring out. When you bring out your spawns, a lot of the times you're going to overlay them for a future, so you get a free future basically when it dies. And yeah, 2 Totallys, as I said before. Then moving into the side deck. So for the side deck, again, this is really tailored around my locals, though having said that, I would say right now this is a really good kind of side deck profile for the format, because of the decks that we're playing against. So we start off with 3 Solemn Judgment and 3-dimensional Barrier. Imperial Order was there before, but I was always adding it in, and also, like I said, Mystic Mine. But yeah, these are just good against everything. Judgment is generically good against everything. And a lot of the times when they realize what you're playing, especially now my locals, they know I'm playing Sharks. I've been playing Sharks for so long. This is probably the deck I've played the longest outside Dark Lords, to be honest. I've been playing it for like over a month, which is really weird for me. But because my opponents are going to know I'm playing Gozen match, and even if they didn't know before we started the match, they're going to know after game 1. They're going to side in back row removal, which makes Judgment even more valuable to protect the Gozen match, and just to protect your board in general, because you are playing a more kind of slow mid-range kind of deck. I would even call this more control than mid-range, to be honest. That's more how you're playing. Your double Totally board doesn't come up as much as you think it would. Then D-Barrier shuts out a lot of decks. Invokes and Sword Soul, I'm going to keep saying it, it shuts them out. Lyrilusk, it really does hurt them. They can still play, but it does hurt them a lot, and so it's just a really, really nice card to have. Drytron completely destroys them, they can't play the game. I mean, yeah, just a really good card at the moment, D-Barrier. It also shuts you out, by the way, so when you're inside in D-Barrier, you don't really have a good answer for that. I haven't figured it out. Maybe someone else can tell me. I did consider putting DP in, but a lot of the times my opponent flips D-Barrier and I know I'm going to lose, because yeah, it's just such a good card. 3 Cyclones, just back row removal, you need it. I prefer Cyclone and Twin Twisters again, because I don't want to discard the cards in my hand. The cards in my hand are very, very useful, so I'm not really willing to get rid of them to remove back row and stuff. Gamma's amazing at the moment, going second, so I only side this in going second, just because again, so at the moment, a lot of decks are doing things. They'll put body on the board. That body has an effect, and then that body has an effect to extend, and then they use that to make something. So, if you use an example, Sword Soul, normal summon Mo Yi, they make a token, and then they use both of those to go into their monster. Gamma's going to negate and destroy it, so they can't just kind of extend out of it. So even against this deck, Gamma's really good, because Gamma stuns you really hard. It gets rid of a body, and that's what makes Gamma so good in this deck, and I really, really do like it. Comes up every time going second, and then like I said, I put Nibiru here, but I would put Draw instead. Yeah, I had Draw for the tournament yesterday, which was so much better. But anyway, yeah, guys, that was my Shark deck profile. I really, really like this deck. I think it's amazing. I'm going to be playing it probably into next format. And if Konami randomly nerfs a Shark thing, I'd be so shocked on the ban list. I don't know why they would ever do that. I'm fully expecting them to completely ignore this deck, which is nice. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing this for a while, but definitely give it a try. Another nice thing is it's super cheap. I'd say probably the most expensive thing is the Future in this deck. Future's probably around 30 quid, but Future's a really good card. It doesn't come up every game. Like, you can get away without playing Future in this deck. You could just put in another Zeus, for example, and you'd be fine. Another Zeus, another Kragen, you'd be fine. Or you could put in Zeus and a Tornado Dragon, for example, you'd be fine. Like, you don't have to play Zeus in this deck. Yeah, everything else is very cheap, which also for me is nice, because it means budget players can jump on this deck whenever they want. But yeah, so thank you all for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.